What's good? This gonna be a real quick one, fam. You dig? I hear everybody talking about the goetia. You know what I'm saying? The goetia. The what is it? The greater or the lesser? I don't remember. It's the greater seal of Solomon or the lesser key of Solomon. I don't remember. But everybody talk about the goetia, but I never hear nobody really talk about what the goetia really is. You know, I hear all of these things on what the goetia is. You know what I'm saying? But nobody never really talks about what the goetia really is. And for those that don't know, the goetia is considered to be what is called Solomon's magic, Shlomo's magic. All right. Shlomo is basically how you pronounce it in Hebrew. But basically, you know, Solomon was a high magician. You know, anybody that really digs into this information knows that Solomon was a high magician, right? So let's just break it down and let's get into it. The goetia is supposed to be 72 angels. All right, or some people might say 72 demons. I don't know. You know, I know y'all, everybody believe in different stuff. You know what I mean? So, you know, like Bobby Hemmett said, one man's God is the next man's devil. You know what I mean? And, you know, I hear different things about what these angels are supposed to mean. And, of course, they do have different meaning. And, you know, I even heard people say that they correspond to the mind, they correspond to different parts of the body, all of these different things. But I never heard anybody ever talk about the real origin of the goetia. So this is what the goetia really is, family. And this is how it came about. The goetia comes from Kabbalah, which I've been talking about on the channel lately. The goetia comes from Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? It's a tradition. It's basically called an oral tradition. This is where you get an esoteric and a mystical interpretations of the Bible. So essentially what happens is, in Hebrew, right, in the Hebrew version of the Bible, the story of Exodus is certain chapters. I forget what chapters, but it's 3 verses. And in these 3 verses, every 3 verses there's simultaneously 3 verses, and each verse has 72 letters in it. 3 verses in a row. They all have 72 letters. So what they did was they stacked the verses on top of each other, and essentially that's how they came up with the names of the angels. That's why each angel has 3 letters in its name. All right. So you dealing with, you know, you dealing with Kabbalah. When you dealing with the goetia, you dealing with Kabbalah. All right, you dealing with what is, I believe, what's called a permutation of the letters, if I said that right. And, you know, when you're dealing with Kabbalah and you're dealing with that tradition, which can be used in other places, in other traditions, in other languages, you know, it's just not isolated in that tradition, but you know, it has its place there also. So you know, a Kabbalist looks into the text and finds codes and synchronicities and finds hidden messages and knowledge and things of that nature to be revealed. You know, that's why you have what is called gematria. This is the vibrational frequency of a word, because each letter corresponds to a number in the alphabet, or the alphabet. So each word has a vibrational frequency, which means its number. Each word can be added up to a number, and other words that adds up to that number, then it's some type of relationship between those words. So just give an example of what's taking place inside of Kabbalah. You know what I mean? And and that's just an example on how you got the goetia. It was a permutation of the text. All right, it was a cipher. Yeah, and that's how you get it. And what happens is, Western occultism takes a hold of it, and it kind of becomes something else. And this happens a lot, in Western occultism. I spoke about it before briefly about what's going on in Satanism, and I kind of called out Satanism, just an aspect of Satanism, because I really don't know what goes on in Satanism in the Church of Satan. I really don't know, so I can't sit here and lie and act like I know the full details. But what I do know is that they do study ancient religions, and from the biblical point of view, these ancient religions are considered evil. So, and and I was just stating that that's still playing on that false narrative that the Bible is presenting. So when it comes to studying the Bible, I mean, it's so deep. Somebody has to have some type of functioning conscious acknowledgement of some type of history on what took place to really even understand that these conversations that I'm bringing out. Like, if you just come out of nowhere and you watch this video, you are going to be lost. You're not even going to be able, because it's so many different variables that come into play when it just comes to understanding it. And so this is how I came to even teaching this information. Let's just go there. Why not? This is how I even came about to teach this information, right? So I get into history. I guess essentially what you can call African history. While I always had a great attraction to ancient Egypt. It's my favorite thing to study, right? So, what happened is, I essentially found out that, the Bible essentially has been plagiarized, and well, the first thing I came to realize is that, okay, this is not what I think it is. This is not the end all be all. This is not really the word of God. Like, the book didn't fall out the sky. And so, and just took those baby steps towards consciousness and reality. Come to find out the role that ancient cultures such as ancient Egypt and ancient Samaria, how they played a part in the actual making of the stories, so all of these, but this is where the light clicked in for me. Like, this is where the light bulb lit up. I said, well, first, it took a kind of a while, because you go through, because when I first learned this, I was bashing religion. Oh, the Bible is fake. Oh, I'm telling everybody I knew, you know what I'm saying? And, and through wisdom, I had to realize, and through real study, I'm like, yo, like, this is the same shit. You know what I mean? Like, Christianity is literally, and I say this all the time. Well, not all the time, but I'm about to tell y'all. Christianity is literally ancient Egypt. Like, oh my gosh. If you just have to really, really study, and once you really break through, and once you really begin to understand what you're looking at and what's really going on, oh my gosh, Christianity is ancient Egypt. But they throw people off with certain things that's placed in there, you know what I mean, to just, because somebody stole something and they didn't want to be caught. And so, a level of brainwashing had to come into play. You know what I mean? A level of brainwashing had to come into play. So essentially what happened to me was, I said, I really can't hate. If I say that I love ancient Egypt so much, I really can't hate Christianity as much as I think I hate it, because it's literally the same thing. Oh my gosh, it's literally the same thing. And I'm telling you, I'm like the only person saying this, maybe. I think Dr. Ben maybe said it though. But it's literally the same thing. So it was just like, I'm not even that mad. Like, oh my gosh. I don't know. Maybe I've talked about this before. But when you really see how everything lined up, it's amazing. But that's the New Testament. That's the New Testament. The Old Testament, that's Babylon. That's Assyrian. That's what that is. So the New Testament, Egypt. Old Testament, Babylon. Because these, but the Old Testament has Egyptian influences also. All right. So this is the difference between me and anybody else, or your normal today's Jew, what you would call a Jew, or anything like that. This is the difference between me and them. They would never say this. They would never say it. They would never say that. They're taught to believe, a lot of them is brainwashed, or they are liars. They either brainwashed or they're liars, and they're not telling the truth, or they just stick with a certain material, and so they never, they just taught to believe certain things that's just really not true. So once I really realized that, it was kind of like, bruh, it's the same shit. Like, how can I really, I mean, I know these people don't know it. I know that they don't know that, but how can I, like, it's the same shit. So then I realized, once I realized that, then I learned about the priesthood. Then I learned about that within these texts was information. So if you know that, so basically it's like the mystery school is still alive. You know what I mean? Anybody that study ancient Egypt, anybody that study the ancient world, that there was a mystery school. That there was basically what you would call a cult today, that there was certain information that everybody didn't get. and certain people just went through these schools of thought to become, you know, high level initiates and masters, you know, in the highest level of knowledge, you know, that was on the planet at that time. And so, you know, this still exists today. And this is what I be trying to bring out, because a lot of people is just stuck at the fact that they just bashing, you know, religion. Religion is fake. You know, and they just want to take it a literal way. And it's like, bruh, you supposed to be conscious. You supposed to be smart. You are supposed to like be where I'm at. You supposed to know this, and you just stuck bashing religion, and you just stuck like on history, and you're not going to reach for the light. You're not going to reach for the light. So essentially what you have is, you know, when you're dealing with biblical works, you dealing with information that was pulled from many different places. Yeah, it was clothed differently. You know, it put some makeup on. You know what I mean? It you know, went under a different color and whatnot. But you know, it's, you know, the ancient roots is still there. This stuff was pulled from different places, and you know, you have people that provided this information. These people was initiates. Nobody has the actual authors of the Bible. You know, you got names of certain, you know what I mean? They went under, like, I guess what you could call pseudo-names. You got Mark, James, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know who actually, like, it was said that Moses wrote, you know, it was said that Moses wrote the Old Testament. But y'all, I mean, you shouldn't be watching my channel if you don't know that these people in the Bible never existed. That don't take away from, you know, the knowledge that's in the Bible. That don't take away from this information being able to be profound information if you have the eyes to see it. That don't take away from that. But this is just for people who've come to this level of existence and, you know, remove the shit from their eyes and are able to see, like, these people, like, so, you know, okay, Moses never existed, so how in the world did he write the text? You know what I mean? And this is what I'm saying, like, you got people teaching people out, and they really telling people that Moses really existed. They really telling people David existed, David existed. Like, no, this is no different from, these stories is no different from the ancient mythologies or the Greek mythologies. This is from that school. This is just a continuation of the mystery school. But they cut you off from the knowledge. They cut you off of the information. It's you know, I guess it's just preserved for kings. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm a king. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a king, let me get the paper of a king. That's what everybody talking about today. Like, I'm like the only person still talking about spirituality. Everybody else, like, you know, it's time to get the paper. It's time to get the bread. Like, ain't nobody talking spirituality no more. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody talking about that shit. Everybody talking about crypto, and everything else. You know what I mean? But ain't nobody talking about no spirituality. So this is what kind of keeps me going. Because if I have such a attraction to this information, then it's obvious this is what I should be doing at this particular time. No matter what the world is doing around me, you know, everybody has a purpose, and you know, this is obviously my purpose at this particular point. You know, because, you know, I took my kids to I don't know what they might have in y'all cities or whatever. My city is called what is it called? I keep wanting to call it Coastside now. it's like a science, it's like a, you know, a science facility where kids can go. They got different science experiments and things of that nature. I forgot the name of it. Imagination, it's called Imagination Station. And what I realized that a lot of those, you know, science experiments or different things that they have, all of it is dealing with magnetism. All of it is dealing with magnetism. And I started to think, like, magnetism is everything. Magnetism is everything. Magnetism deals with polarity. And, you know, I talked about it before, but polarity is essentially why we are in a physical construct now, because of polarity. If there was no polarity, there would be no physical construct. There would be no physical matrix or no world or anything for us to live in, because there would be no polarity. It would just be one thing. So polarity create magnetism because opposites attract. This is magnetism. Magnetism is everything. This is sex. You know, the opposite sex are attracted to each other. That's an attraction. The attraction is formed and a life is created. And life is energy. That's why, like, in the smallest cell and in the smallest atom, it's energy inside of that atom. And if I'm not mistaken, that energy is considered to be an electron. That's the energy. You know, that's the energy. You know, I was, you know, I just wanted kind of to look at electricity. I was thinking about energy one day. I kind of just wanted to look at electricity and realize that electricity is just energy in motion. It's a flow of energy. It's the flow of electrons. You know what I mean? So it's like God is energy. So if you are attracted to something, that's God. That's God. That, you know, that's God. Or maybe the devil if you're attracted to something destructive. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's God. Because in everything in existence, right, or everything that's alive, and I hope I'm not butchering this, because, you know, I'm not an expert, right, in this type of information, but in the smallest piece of life, atoms and cells, it's energy inside of it. You know what I mean? It's energy. It's energy inside of it. So that's, I guess in ancient Egypt it was called Ankh, the spark of life. You know what I mean? In Kabbalah they talk about the divine sparks and the fallen sparks and things of that nature. But that's the life. That's the energy. You know what I mean? That's the energy. So what you attracted to, that's God. That's energy. Because see, without the energy, some, you know, like if you get hooked up to something, you can see electrical pulse of your heart, your heartbeat, right? That's electrical pulse. But when that pulse is done, there's no more energy. There's no electrical pulse. You feel what I'm saying? That wave that they show and the person go flatline. Like God is energy. So God does exist. The energy does exist. Nobody can explain where the energy come from. Nobody can, but from where I know and where I'm at right now, I know it has something to do with attraction or magnetism. Because that energy is created. Like if two things are magnetic, you can feel the energy pull. You can feel the energy, that energy field. You can feel that energy, you know, between those two things, that they are magnetic. You can feel, you know, if you holding a magnet up to, you know, a piece of iron or whatever, you can feel the magnetic field. You can feel that energy. You know what I mean? So you gotta go, you gotta do where your energy is at. And that energy deals with that, what you are attracted to, your magnetic, your magnetic pull. Right? So I know I was all over the place with this. But till we speak again, peace, fam.